Do you still remember those evenings immersed in murder, she wrote, holding your breath as you followed Jessica Fletcher unraveling mysterious cases alongside the star cast of Angela Lansbury, Jerry Orbach, Tom Bosley? Just like the plot twists in the series, behind those episodes lay terrifying secrets of the stars who have left us forever. Let us explore the truth and pay tribute to the legacies they left behind. Let's go. Angela Lansbury as Jessica Fletcher. Angela Brigid. Lansbury was born on October 16, 1925, in London. When she was 59 years old, she took on the role of Jessica Fletcher, a female novelist and amateur detective, in the series Murder, She Wrote, becoming an immortal icon of global television. Thanks to her charming acting and sharp intellect, Angela portrayed an independent, strong-willed woman, captivating audiences worldwide for more than a decade of broadcasting. Angela Lansbury passed away on October 11, 2022, at the age of 96, just a few days before her 97th birthday, after a long battle with dementia that gradually weakened her health. Angela's net worth was estimated at around $70 million USD, accumulated from an 80-year artistic journey, with a legacy not only in Murder, She Wrote, but also in Beauty and the Beast, 1991, where she voiced the emotional teapot character, Mrs. Potts, and earlier in The Manchurian Candidate, 1962, affirming her extraordinary talent across many generations. But behind the stage lights, Angela's life was not without its shadows. She lost her father when she was only 9 years old, a pain that haunted her throughout childhood, pushing her along with her mother and siblings to emigrate to America amid the Blitz bombings. Her first marriage to Richard Cromwell fell apart after only 1 year when Angela discovered he had hidden his homosexuality, a shock that caused her to lose faith in love for a long time. Later on, she found a peaceful harbor with her second husband, Peter Shaw, living happily together until he passed away in 2003. Angela also endured many other pains. In 1971, her house in Malibu was burned down by fire, forcing the family to move to Ireland to protect the children from the drug vortex of Hollywood. In the final years of her life, dementia gradually took away her ability to act and her memories, but it could never erase the brilliance of a steel lady on screen. More than just an actress, Angela Lansbury etched her name in history as a timeless symbol of courage, grace, and ageless talent. Ron Massac as Sheriff Mort Metzger. Ronald Allen Massac was born on July 1, 1936, in Chicago. When he was 49 years old, he made an unforgettable mark with the role of Sheriff Mort Metzger, the Cadillac-driving, humorous but tough police chief, in Murder, She Wrote, bringing a fresh breath to Cabot Cove after the time of Sheriff Amos Tupper. Ron's appearance seemed to complete the crime-solving duo with Jessica Fletcher, creating one of the most beloved television pairs of the 1980s and 1990s. On October 20, 2022, just 9 days after Angela Lansbury passed away, Ron Massac also took his last breath at the age of 86 at a hospital in Thousand Oaks, California. The cause was identified as complications from leukemia, which had silently ravaged his body for many years. In that moment of sorrow, Hollywood seemed to lose a sincere yet powerful storyteller. A net worth of around $3 million USD from decades of acting, voiceover, and advertising suddenly stood as proof of a life devoted to his craft. But behind that warm smile, Ron once had to steel himself to protect his family from Hollywood's own temptations. He married Kay Neebs in 1961, living together for over 60 years, raising 6 children while still running from set to set, voicing in Meatballs and Spaghetti, then joining Ice Station Zebra, 1968, and Harper Valley PTA, 1978. When a fire broke out near their home in California in the late 1980s, Ron himself risked his life driving his wife and children away from the sea of flames, a memory his daughter would later recall like a scene from a real-life action film. Sadly, in his final years, leukemia left him exhausted, forcing him to give up even the small roles he cherished. During that time, audiences still saw Sheriff Metzger as funny and bringing justice to Cabot Cove. But behind the camera, he was a father battling daily with a silent pain, a quiet hero in real life. That was Ron Massac, a sheriff, not only on screen, but also in the hearts of all who had known him. Tom Bosley as Sheriff Amos Tupper. Tom Bosley was born on October 1, 1927, in Chicago. When he was 57 years old, he began appearing in the role of Sheriff Amos Tupper of Cabot Cove in the series Murder, She Wrote alongside Angela Lansbury, bringing humor and trustworthiness to the tangled mysteries. Before that, Bosley had already won over audiences everywhere through his portrayal of Father Howard Cunningham in Happy Days, leaving a deep imprint on American popular culture throughout the 1970s. Tom Bosley passed away on October 19, 2010, at the age of 83, after battling lung cancer and complications from a staph infection at a hospital in Rancho Mirage, California, not far from his home in Palm Springs. He left behind an estimated net worth of $8 million USD, built thanks to a steady career of more than half a century from Broadway, with a Tony-winning role as Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, to television with Father Dowling Mysteries. His funeral was held simply, in keeping with his humble style, for family and audiences to remember him as an icon of the on-screen American father. Although he had a relatively stable marriage with his second wife, former actress Patricia Carr, and daughter Amy, Bosley once admitted feeling suffocated by being forever typecast as the kind father or good-hearted friend, which made him yearn to try more challenging, edgy roles that were not easy to break into. The pressures of the profession, combined with lung cancer, the consequence of many years of smoking, gradually eroded his health, making his final years more somber. Yet rising above all the pain, Tom Bosley remained deeply rooted in the hearts of viewers through the image of Sheriff Amos Tupper, honest, intelligent, and kind-hearted in Murder, She Wrote, a character very much like his real self. Gregory Sierra as Lieutenant Gabriel Caceres. Gregory Joseph Sierra was born on January 25, 1937, in Manhattan. When he turned 48 years old, he transformed into Lieutenant Gabriel Caceres in Murder, She Wrote, bringing the image of a serious but warm-hearted Latino police officer, contributing to the appeal of this hit detective series. Gregory Sierra was already familiar to audiences through the role of Julio Fuentes in Sanford and Son, and continued to affirm his name with steady appearances on television over 3 decades. On January 4, 2021, Sierra passed away at the age of 83 after an exhausting battle with stomach and liver cancer. He took his last breath in Laguna Woods, California, beside his wife, Helene Tabor. Gregory left behind an estimated net worth of around $2 million USD, partly thanks to the role of Chano Amengual in Barney Miller, as well as guest roles in a string of hit series like Miami Vice, Hill Street Blues, The X-Files, and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. His body was cremated, with no grave built, following his wish to be returned to the wind, a detail that left many fans in silence when they heard the news. Gregory Sierra's personal life carried tragedies that were hard to name. His first marriage ended after only 3 years, and an even greater tragedy struck when his second wife, Susan Pollock, died by suicide in 1978, pushing Gregory into the darkness of depression. The man with the strong appearance had actually spent his whole life struggling to escape the loneliness of childhood, when his parents abandoned him and he had to grow up under the care of an aunt in Spanish Harlem. From an abandoned boy to a Hollywood star, it was a journey full of tears and fears of being forgotten. Sierra once expressed that his career was never easy, because for decades Hollywood still locked him into Latino supporting roles, rarely giving him a chance to break out. Even when making an impression in The Towering Inferno or Deep Cover, he was still viewed as a substitute face rather than a star. That pressure, combined with the cruel cancer, left Sierra exhausted in his final years, forcing him to leave the profession and to pass away with the dream of shining one last time, still unfinished. Wayne Rogers as Charlie Garrett. William Wayne McMillan. Rogers III was born on April 7, 1933, in Birmingham, Alabama. When he was 60 years old, he appeared in Murder, She Wrote in the role of Charlie Garrett, a sly lawyer with quick wits who frequently helped Jessica Fletcher get out of thorny legal troubles. Charlie's clever humor and intelligence brought a fresh atmosphere to this detective series, leaving an unforgettable impression on the public. Wayne Rogers passed away on December 31, 2015, at the age of 82, due to complications from pneumonia after battling cancer. He died in Los Angeles, closing a turbulent life as both a talented actor and a well-known television investor. His remains were buried privately according to his family's wishes, and the media were nearly kept away. His net worth at the time of death was estimated at around $6 million USD, mostly accumulated from the tremendous success of his role as Trapper John in MASH, and from years of activity on the stock market. Behind the screen, Rogers's married life was not peaceful. He married actress Mitzi McWhorter in 1960, had 2 children, but the marriage ended in 1983 after many periods of distance. The loneliness seemed to be healed when he remarried Amy Hirsch in 1988, but storms continued to arrive as his health began to weaken due to cancer. Rogers once shared that the pressure of leaving MASH in a dispute with producers made him anxious and pushed him to plunge into the world of investing to avoid falling into financial crisis. A risky but dramatic choice, just like the characters he once played. Nevertheless, the name Wayne Rogers continued to shine in other projects such as House Calls and the TV movie Miracle Landing in 1990, where he reaffirmed the charm of a veteran actor. But behind the fame, that man always carried a fear of being forgotten, along with a feeling of emptiness when away from the stage lights. And even at the end of his life, he still had many unfinished dreams, leaving behind a Charlie Garrett who was witty but also carried a piece of himself. William Windam as Dr. Seth Hazlitt. William Windam was born on September 28, 1923 in Manhattan, New York. When he was 62 years old, he began winning the hearts of viewers in the role of Dr. Seth Hazlitt, Jessica Fletcher's close friend and trusted ally in Cabot Cove in the series Murder, She Wrote. With a kindly but sharp appearance, Windam turned this small-town doctor into an indispensable symbol in the thrilling detective journey of the legendary series. William Windam passed away on August 16, 2012, at the age of 88, at his home in Woodacre, California, after many years battling complications of heart failure. The estimated net worth of around $5 million USD that he left behind was accumulated from decades of dedicated work in the arts, from classic films like To Kill a Mockingbird, 1962, to True Crime, 1999. His funeral was held quietly, without ostentation, true to the reserved and simple nature of a man who once called himself just a hired storyteller in the glamorous world of Hollywood. Behind the stage lights, Windam went through 5 turbulent marriages, with 3 daughters and 1 son born through those eventful romantic chapters. After finishing his role in The Farmer's Daughter in the 1960s, he once struggled with financial pressures and raising children after divorce, something he himself described as the hardest role in real life. Nevertheless, William did not give up acting, continuing tirelessly with guest roles in Star Trek, 1967, or Columbo, 1968, and later Murder, She Wrote, where audiences loved him most. In the final years of his life, heart disease quietly wore down his health, leading William to gradually withdraw from the stage and film sets. Yet the image of a witty, thoughtful, and compassionate Dr. Hazlitt remains intact in the public's memory. Julie Adams as Eve Simpson. Julie Adams, birth name Betty Mae Adams, was born on October 17, 1926, in Waterloo, Iowa. When she was 61 years old, she left an impression on audiences with the role of Eve Simpson, a charming and somewhat nosy real estate agent of Cabot Cove in the series Murder. She wrote alongside Angela Lansbury. Julie Adams' presence on the small screen brought a unique allure and a touch of mystery to this popular crime investigation series. Julie Adams took her last breath on February 3, 2019, at the age of 92 after a stroke in Los Angeles. Throughout more than 6 decades of work, she accumulated an estimated net worth of $4 million USD, thanks to numerous hit film roles such as Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954, and Bend of the River, 1952, while also maintaining a steady television presence with impressive guest roles. There was no grand funeral, but the legacy she left behind is still cherished by audiences and generations of colleagues as a part of American cinematic memory. Julie's life was also tinged with some sadness behind the spotlight. 2 broken marriages, including the split from director Ray Danton in 1981, left many regrets. She once confided about the pressure to maintain a sexy image, especially after playing Kay Lawrence, the beauty hunted by the monster in Creature from the Black Lagoon, which made her fear being typecast for life as a beauty icon. It was a subtle but very real anxiety, yet Adams still stepped forward strongly, confidently taking on other roles in a series of shows like Capital or Perry Mason. Keith Michelle as Dennis Stanton. Keith Joseph Michelle was born on December 1, 1926, in Adelaide, Australia. When he was 62 years old, he left a strong impression on American audiences with the role of Dennis Stanton, a former master thief turned insurance investigator. In Murder, She Wrote, bringing a suave, witty presence, but also a hint of loneliness, much like his own shadow in real life. Keith Michelle passed away on November 20, 2015, in London, at the age of 88, just a few days before his birthday. The cause was severe complications from a stroke, an illness that had gradually weakened him in his final years. The estimated net worth of around $5 million USD, built from the stage, television, and recordings, could not help him fight against his declining health, especially since he had once dreamed of reuniting with audiences at the Chichester Festival Theatre. Keith Michelle's life for many years seemed glamorous, but in reality carried many burdens. The pressure to always perfectly transform into roles of emperors, knights, or great men sometimes left him feeling lost, as he once admitted, "Sometimes I don't know who I really am." Constantly moving between the UK, Australia, and the US to keep his career alive while protecting a small family with his wife and 2 children often left Keith exhausted, sleep-deprived, and irritable, something relatives revealed in rare interviews. Behind the scenes, Keith also had to bear the fear of fading away with age, especially as audience tastes changed and major roles no longer favored older artists. That is why the role of Dennis Stanton can be seen as Keith's final affirmation that he had never lost his passion or his ability to captivate the public. Herb Edelman as Artie Gelber. Herbert "Herb" Edelman was born on November 5, 1933, in Brooklyn, New York. When he was 51 years old, he made a strong impression on audiences with the role of Lieutenant Artie Gelber in Murder, She Wrote, a New York police officer who was both honest and full of compassion. Herb appeared throughout 10 episodes from 1984 to 1995, becoming a memorable touch in the otherwise dangerous world of Cabot Cove. He passed away on July 21, 1996, at the age of 62, after many years silently struggling with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease caused by the consequences of a lifelong smoking habit. The estimated net worth of about $3 million USD could not save his hardened lungs, as just a few months before, Herb still held hope of returning to the set. He was buried at Montefiore Cemetery in Queens, with a quiet funeral because many colleagues were shocked by his passing at such a young age. Herb's personal life was also full of complications. After a broken marriage with actress Louise Sorel, he went through many years surrounded by rumors of dating co-star Christina Pickles, without ever reaching a complete wedding. The sense of failure in love made him even lonelier, especially when he was always labeled as the funny supporting actor, never getting the chance to break through into A-list stardom. Herb once shared that he felt enormous pressure when he was constantly invited to play the role of a weak ex-husband or a good-hearted cop, a kind of image box that tormented him. In his final years, illness worsened everything. Heavy breathing, declining health, and a sense of professional deadlock that nearly drove Herb into depression. Even though audiences loved him, he still had to face the fear that no one truly understood him beyond the bursts of laughter on screen. Perhaps that is why the role of Lieutenant Gelber in Murder, She Wrote, a protector of justice and trust, was also Herb's way of sending a message about his own longing to be a good person. Claude Aikens, as Captain Ethan Cragg. Claude Aubrey Aikens was born on May 25, 1926, in Georgia, and portrayed Captain Ethan Cragg in Murder, She Wrote, in 1984 when he was 58 years old. With a rugged appearance, firm voice, and seasoned demeanor, Aikens brought to life a powerful, courageous military character, an image closely tied to him throughout his career. Claude Aikens took his last breath on January 27, 1994, at the age of 67, after many months of battling stomach cancer. He was cremated, and his ashes returned to Altadena, California, the place that witnessed his peaceful final years. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million USD, largely from the Caine Mutiny and many hit television series, Aikens left the mark of a legendary supporting actor, whom almost every American viewer would recognize. Behind the spotlight, Claude Aikens had to endure no small amount of psychological pressure from being typecast in roles as police officers, cowboys, and soldiers, the tough guy image he carried even into his personal life. Though he did not get involved in scandals or bad habits, Aikens once shared that the pressure to always be strong had at times made him collapse silently. And perhaps that was also his greatest tragedy. A man so tough that he was not allowed to show weakness, even when facing illness. Claude Aikens lived like a symbol, a warrior on screen, a real-life military man, and a devoted father and husband behind the scenes. His passing in 1994 marked the close of a golden era of steel faces in American cinema, leaving a profound sense of loss among colleagues and fans who once admired him. The journey through the tragic fates of the stars of Murder, She Wrote has come to an end, leaving us with unforgettable memories of Jessica Fletcher and her haunting cases. Which character in the series do you love the most, and which tragic story moves you the most? Share your thoughts and join us in spreading the love for Murder, She Wrote by leaving a comment today.